Welcome all to the third part of administrative classification of administrative action for administrative law. This is Dr. K. Sangeeta. In certain areas of administrative adjudication, such as tax, administration applies facts and laws similar to a judge. It is wrong to relegate a mixture of administration to the virgin purity of judicial pronouncement to a quasi-judicial position. Also, this classification will fall in the case of independent tribunals. The distinguishing feature of a quasi-judicial proceeding is that the authority concerned is regarded by law to act judicially. In India, judicial search for the duty to act judicially was made within the statute under which the authority exercises its power, sometimes in extraneous or remote material, the implication arising thereof. This doctrinal approach of both Indian and English courts caused confusion and eluded justice in several cases. Finally, to prevent this, the foundation of application of principle of natural justice, laid down by Subbarao, dissent in Radheshyam Kare vs. State of Madhya Pradesh, he wrote that incompetency carries with it a stigma, and what is more derogatory than being stigmatized as incompetent to do their duty? It is not reasonable to assume that officials in a democratic country are allowed to be punished without being given a chance to be heard. In A.K. Kripak vs. Union of India, the Supreme Court held that though the action of making selection for government service is administrative, yet the selection committee is under the duty to act judicially. The court observed that the dividing line between an administrative power and a quasi-judicial power is quite thin and being gradually obliterated. Going a step further, the Supreme Court clearly held that in C.B. Boarding and Lodging House vs. State of Mysore, that it is not necessary to classify an action of administrative authority as quasi-judicial or administrative, because the administrative authority is bound to follow the principles of natural justice in any purely administrative action, which is the third type. The expression administrative act is a comprehensive expression comprising of three categories, namely quasi-legislative, quasi-judicial and purely administrative. In Ram Javaya vs. State of Punjab, Mukherjee, Chief Justice, observed that an exhaustive definition of executive function cannot be devised. Ordinarily, executive power refers to the residue of governmental function that remain after legislative and judicial functions are taken away. Thus, administrative functions are those which are neither legislative nor judicial. A quasi-legislative act consists of making rules, regulations and the like, while purely administrative act is concerned with the treatment of a particular situation. Therefore, a legislative act is the creation and promulgation of a general rule of conduct without reference to particular cases. An administrative act includes adoption of a policy, making and issuing the specific direction, application of general rule to particular case in accordance with the requirements of the policy of expediency or administrative practice. In certain circumstances, an order has to be published as statutory instrument if it is for a legislative nature, but not if it is of an executive, example, administrative character. But this test adopted for discriminating between the legislative and executive often appear to be pragmatic. Is it the public interest that this order should be published rather than conceptual? Second, it has generally been assumed that the courts will not award certiorari to quash a legislative order. Now that the courts no longer insist upon the need to categorize administrative decision reviewable by certiorari as judicial in character or nature, it would perhaps be surprising that if they were to exclude from the reach of the remedy the administrative decision of a legislative nature. Third, courts may declare administrative act to be invalid for manifest of unreasonableness, but it is not so clear that they have jurisdiction to hold statutory instrument to be invalid for unreasonableness per se. However, by law, a form of delegated legislation has always been reviewable for manifest unreasonableness. Fourth, authority to subdelegate legislative powers will be held to be implied on the most as exceptional circumstances. The court are somewhat less reluctant to read into a grant of administrative authority to subdelegate. It is therefore necessary to determine what type of functions the administrative authority perform. Last, the duty to give reason to their decision does not extend to decisions in connection with the order or schemes of legislation or not to an executive character. An administrative action is a residuary action which is neither legislative nor judicial. It has no procedural obligation of collecting evidence or weighing argument. It is based on subjective satisfaction, where decision is based on policy and expediency. The principle of natural justice can be ignored completely when the authority is exercising its administrative power. Unless the statute provides otherwise, a minimum of the principle of natural justice must always be observed depending on the fact situation of each case. The new judicial trend is to insist that even if an authority is not acting in a quasi-judicial capacity, it still must act fairly. The courts have propounded the proposition that whether the function being discharged by the administration may be regarded as quasi-judicial or administrative, it must nevertheless be discharged with fairness. The courts are increasingly shedding the use of the term quasi-judicial and natural justice and instead adopting the concept of fairness. The advantage of the new judicial trend is that procedural fairness can be imposed on all decision-making bodies without having to characterize their function as quasi-judicial. The aim of both administrative inquiry and quasi-judicial inquiry is to arrive at a just decision, and as the rule of natural justice is calculated to secure justice and to prevent miscarriage of justice, it is difficult to see why it should be applicable to quasi-judicial inquiry and not to administrative inquiry. The concept of fairness has become a much more widely applicable procedural requirement. However, in spite of great expansion in the range of administration where fair procedure is applied, and the two concepts are quasi-judicial and natural justice, which occur quite often in the judicial opinion. For certain purposes, the concept of quasi-judicial is still relevant. It is therefore seems to that the two concepts of fairness and quasi-judicial would continue to hold the field. It is also possible to argue that on the basis of the case law, whereas those acting in quasi-judicial manner have to observe the principle of natural justice, and those acting administratively have only an act of fairly. A few actions that can be noted for the sake of clarity. Issuing direction to subordinate officers not having the force of law. Making a reference to a tribunal for adjudication under Industrial Dispute Act. Interment and deportation. Granting or withholding sanction to file a suit under Section 55(2) of the Muslim Waqf Board Act 1954. Granting or withholding sanctions by the Advocate General under Section 92 of the Civil Procedure Code. Fact-finding actions. Requisition, acquisition and allotment. Entering names in surveillance register of police. Power of the Chancellor under UP State University Act 1973 to take decision on the recommendation of the selection committee in case of disagreement of the Executive Council with such recommendations. Functions of the Selector Committee. Last one, decision to extend time for anti-dumping investigation. Administrative action can be statutory having the force of law or non-statutory which are devoid of such force. The bulk of administrative action is statutory because a satire or a constitution gives it a legal force, but in some cases it may be non-statutory, such as issuing direction to the subordinate, but its violation must be visited by disciplinary action. Though by and large administrative action is discretionary and it is based on subjective satisfaction, however, the administrative authority must act fairly, impartially, and reasonably. The fiction of quasi have been conveniently created to distinguish an act in the three organs. Act scholars decry such dichotomy as to artificial and superficial. Such classification are necessary, especially between purely administrative and quasi-judicial. Also, the concept of fair play in administrative action has discarded the distinction between the two. The fact still remains that in the present stage of administrative law, it requires labeling of the functions and actions. Frequently asked questions with answers. Who can challenge administrative action? Administrative actions are amenable to judicial review. This means that if administrative actions are against principles of natural justice or in violation of citizens' rights, then the court can strike down such actions. Hence, persons both natural and body corporate can challenge administrative action before the court of law. Second, when does administrative action takes place? Administrative action takes effect as soon as it is notified in the official gazette or the date on which the notification comes into existence. Third, why is administrative action important? The modern government is an intensive form of government based on the idea of welfare state. Such a government has vast power. To ensure that all these powers are exercised efficiently for the citizens' good, some of it is provided to administrative authorities. They ensure that the powers is used efficiently by way of various administrative action. Hence, these actions are important. Fourth, how are administrative action and judicial review related? Administrative action is three kinds: quasi-legislative, quasi-judicial, and purely administrative. Quasi-judicial action include features both of pure administrative action and judicial powers, and hence are naturally amenable to judicial review. But purely administrative actions, though cannot be referred to any judicial proceedings, are required to comply with the basic principle of fairness. It does not go against such an action is amenable to judicial review. Fifth question, can administrative action be combined with legislature and judiciary? Certain aspects of administration actions have overtones of legislature and judiciary, the line of differentiation between them being extremely thin. However, this does not mean that the classification should be completely done away with. Thank you.